First of all, why are you watching Bluey on my kid's iPad?
We both know that I make a better supervisor than a worker, and besides, the stuff is inspirational.
And second of all, why do I even have to cook for you anyways?
We've been over this. When I cook, it means I have to do stuff. And besides, last time I cooked, it was way too smoky.
Do me a favor, can you at least see how long this ramen needs to cook before I burn it?
You know I spoil you. Yeah, sure. Where's your phone?
My phone's charging.
Charging?
Where's your phone?
Oh, I'm sure I put it somewhere safe.
The iPad doesn't work because it's offline.
Yeah, also, the battery's dying. Bluey is a worthwhile drama.
Why don't you just use the 028? That's got a browser. It's Android.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, give me a second. Dude, I think your screen's broken.
Use the controls.
The what?
Dude, water's boiling here. Like, I really need to know this.
Well, how much time do you have?
45 seconds.
45 seconds?
Yeah, dude. Do you think you could look that up pretty quick? Just
Yeah,
go to the browser.
Yeah, I'm trying, but it looks like it's not charged.
Dude, just use the D-pad.
Oh, I get what you're trying to say. It has to be cleaned. I've done this before. I got you.
No, you use the controls on the device.
You mean stylus? Yeah, I got one of those.
No, where did you even get that? You're gonna scratch it.
No, I found it somewhere. In fact, come to think of it, maybe it was somewhere in a pawn shop.
Dude, it's getting steamy over here. You want this lunch or not?
I mean, I haven't eaten in at least hours, so of course I do. How else do you turn this thing on? Oh, I know. Restart it.
Why are you restarting it? We don't have time for that. Just go to the browser.
Dude, the screen is still broken. I don't know. Maybe you need a new one. I think you just need to clean the screen. You see, there's fingerprints all over it. They're mine. But if you clean it, do you want the... What is this? The Dark Ages?
Yeah, the 90s.
Huh. Good times.
Greetings and welcome to the channel. This is Mikhailov from Team Retro, where we like retro games and the devices that bring them to us. So we have an interesting handheld for you today. This is the MagicX Mini Zero 28, and I actually had to look off screen for a second because I needed to remember that big long name. So this is an interesting little handheld because it's an Android-based micro handheld that does not have a touchscreen, which means we're going back to the days of the Retroid Pocket 2, where we had the potential of having Android for emulation, but we also had a lot of the hiccups that came with not having a touchscreen. And so in this video, we're going to take a look at what this little micro thing can do, and we're going to see if it's worth your hard-earned dollar bucks. So let's dive in and get to work. At time of recording, the MagicX Mini Zero 28 can be purchased direct from their website starting at $59. The unit I am using is a black model sent to me by MagicX for the purposes of this review. As is always required, all opinions are my own, I'm not being paid, and they are not seeing this video before it is published. So let's hop on our mount and ride into Spec Town, starting with the processing power. The Mini Zero 28 is powered by an all-winner Cortex A133 processor. The GPU is an IMG PowerVR GE8300. The device has 2 GB of LPDDR4 RAM. Moving on to storage, the device uses a dual micro SD card slot with one 64 or 128 GB SD card included with the operating system installed, and a second slot for storage expansion. The screen is a 2.8-inch IPS OCA laminated screen with a 480p resolution and a 4:3 aspect ratio. Giving the device life is a 29 milliamp hour battery. For connectivity, this handheld has built-in Wi-Fi. The device ships with a 64-bit version of Android 10. All right, so let's tour this device, and we're gonna start with the triggers. Now, these are side-by-side triggers and bumpers, and this is very old-fashioned for a retro handheld device. This is reminiscent of the retro handhelds of yesteryear, and they do have this nice kind of gritty texture to them. They are not noisy in the slightest. They have kind of a mushy feel to them. Let's do our quick sound test. And nothing. I don't even think the mic is picking this up. So those are actually nice, quiet triggers. Good for bed. Good for when you're in a kind of a quiet waiting room. You have two ports at the top here, both USB-C. One is a DC for charging, one is OTG for storage, and then of course you have a volume rocker. And on the left and the right, you have a dual SD card slot setup. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the front of the device. So you have your D-pad here and your face buttons, and D-pad is a pretty mushy feel here, and quite frankly, so are the buttons. This is, on first impression, a pretty quiet device. So let's go ahead and sound test those now. There's the D-pad. There's the face buttons. Now the face buttons have a little bit more noise to them. There's just a little bit of a thwack whenever you kind of mash on them a little bit, but it's still fairly quiet. So I'm willing to think that these are all membrane connections, and they're all just nice and soft and quiet. And so if you're a side sleeper like me and you need a nice condensed grip, this is a pretty good device for that, because I've noticed with larger devices like the iNeo Pocket Evo, like this particular device, excuse my cat fur, this particular device is a little bit wider. Now this is a much nicer device and it is a much more expensive device, but I just wanted to show an example of a handheld that is not really great for bed, because you have a bit of a wider grip. So if you're laying on your side, you're actually going to get more arm and hand fatigue. And whereas with something like this, granted, you're going to be able to play less games on this than on something like the Evo, but like this, you're going to get more of a controller feel, and this is going to give your arms and your hands an opportunity to rest. Joysticks are recessed here, and they don't really bother me. They do click L3 and R3. I don't anticipate being able to use these very much, but you do need them when navigating Android, because holding the R3 button will get you into the mouse mode, and then you need to use your left mouse in order to actually navigate, and you need to click in L3 in order to simulate a left click. You also have a home and back button here, and you have start and select buttons on the top, which I always prefer seeing them on the top as opposed to on the sides. On the bottom of the unit, you have two downward facing speakers, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and your power button. And then on the back, you just have a little bit of branding, and you have some exhaust here. Taking a look at the out-of-the-box experience, this device comes preloaded with RetroArch, a few standalone emulators, and a front end called Dawn Launcher, which is a fork of Daigisho. If you're looking for a simple out-of-the-box experience with a preloaded ROM collection, this will do fine. The real challenge comes when you want to use your own ROMs. And now let's talk about the headache associated with operating Android without a touchscreen when you want a fresh start with your own ROM collection. Dawn Launcher has issues when it comes to setting up your own ROM library. There are no extra themes beyond the defaults, and while it does have built-in screen scraper support, it just plain doesn't work. It connects and scans the games, but never actually applies the box art. You could opt for another launcher, but they have issues as well. If you go with Daijisho, the overall experience is better, but the B button just doesn't work. So you have to use the menu button to go back when navigating Daijisho on this device. So what I ended up doing is using the default quick step home screen, putting a shortcut to ESDE for my retro games, and additional shortcuts to the few Android games I was able to get working on this device through the Aurora store. And unfortunately, this build of Android does not have Google Play Store support, so you have to rely on what is available through Aurora. That is one of the benefits of having an Android build on a device like this, because there are a few Android games that do work well in this small format. And it was cool to get these games working from a tinkerer's perspective, but if I'm going to play a phone game on a pocketable device, I might as well play them on my phone with a bigger screen that actually has touch to help me navigate the menus and such. When I was doing setup for this device, I got so frustrated with the lack of a touchscreen that I finally connected an external trackpad keyboard combo to make things a little easier. This isn't late 2020 or early 2021. I don't have nostalgia for Android devices without touchscreens, and this just annoyed the heck out of me. That said, this device's stock experience can absolutely be saved if you don't mind putting in a little bit of work. If you want to stick with Android, the Gamma Squeeze is working on a more optimized build of Gamma OS Core. There is currently a beta build with a full release planned within the next week or so. Gamma is still working out the kinks, but even in this beta build, the Android experience is so much better than the stock firmware. However, what I feel really saves this device is the potential for Linux builds. At time of recording, MinUI is currently available for the Mini 28, and to me, this is the ideal experience for a handheld like this due to its simplified menus, ease of access, and it's not touchscreen dependent. This is the kind of operating system I want in a handheld that I'm bringing to a waiting room, because I'll be able to save states or put the device to sleep and wake it on the fly in case I have to put the device away in a hurry. So with that, let's start to wrap things up with my final thoughts, starting with the positives. This is a good, pocketable candy bar device. Honestly, it's probably one of the best pocket handheld designs I've ever tested. I have no qualms throwing this in a pocket unprotected, and I'm not worried that's going to get damaged. The buttons are also nice and quiet. They're not clicky at all, which makes this a great handheld to play on just before bed. While the stock experience isn't great, there is a ton of potential for Gamma and other custom firmware developers to come in and make this a much better handheld than the stock Android OS. Which brings us to the negatives. Trying to navigate Android without a touchscreen is a pain in the neck that does bring us back to the dark ages. And I'm here to tell you, I don't miss it. Their built-in solution, Dawn Launcher, isn't great either, and doesn't give us the level of customization that we've come to expect from our handhelds. That means that while the 28 had potential to be a pick-up-and-play device, it's not, and requires legwork to get it to where you might want it to be. I do overall think that it's worth putting in the effort though, because the hardware and pocketability do make up for the poor software experience. So if you're willing to put in some time to take care of those software issues, you will have a decent travel handheld. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this the device for you? And what do you think is the best use case for something like this? And please feel free to continue the conversation on the Retro Handhelds and Steam Machine Discords, where you could find me hanging out in between videos. And if you want to support the channel like these wonderful people on the screen, you can do so by going to my Patreon page. Links for all these places are in the description. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to like and subscribe if this video is helpful to you in any way. Every smash of that button helps the channel grow and allows me to get more content out to you. Until next time, bye for now, and don't stop believing.